Welcome to PNW Prop Stars, the only Seahawks only gambling show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. Come out and find me on Twitter at Clinton Bond. But this ain't about me, folks. And Wilson, this ain't about you, Wilson. It's okay, you're home for break. This ain't about you, Wilson. This is about the three-peater heater going on over here. 3 weeks in a row, making it rain. The money line rainmaker from Montana. If you're on YouTube, folks, you're getting some extra sauce here, watching Adam dance it up. Mr. Adam Emmerich, dude, 3 in a row, you take us down, man. What? The microphone's yours. What do you got?
Well, I really would like to, just take a victory lap here and talk about my betting greatness and just how my insight is unmatched in this realm. That'd be a total freaking lie. I have no idea how this has worked out 3 weeks in a row. But hey, man, what's the coincidence? Twice is a trend, 3 times. That feels like a me problem. Let's see if I can ride this to 4. I'm fired up about my bets this week.
Yeah, this feels like a Wilson and I problem. Wilson, man, we're taking some beatings lately. Last week you're skunked. This week you and I only go 1 for 3. We'll get to it already. What do you and I got to do? Do we got to put on the Rocky IV soundtrack and chop some wood? How do you think we get back on track, Wilson?
Well, there's one thing I learned from last week, and it's that you need to diversify your portfolio. I placed all my bets on it being a high-scoring track meet. And while maybe that's not a bad idea, given what we had known about the Seahawks until that point, you're opening yourself up to get burned, and I got burned. Yeah,
you got a little too close to the sun there. So Wilson in a different, not in his normal dormitory, but he's still the Princetonian of Parlays. He's hanging out back on the West Coast for fall break, something the kids do nowadays, I guess. And we're here on PNW Prop Stars because it is the Seahawks only Seahawks only gambling show. It's a lot of fun. And we're getting, hey, folks are digging this, which is kind of cool, right? Not just folks in the Discord. We got folks out on Twitter hitting us up saying, hey, the most common comments I get, guys, which I think is kind of cool, is I didn't think I'd like this show because whatever, I don't gamble. I just didn't think I'd dig this, ... But I really like it because it's a new way to think about the game. I think that's kind of cool. So that's not a quote. I'm not quoting somebody. It's a paraphrase, if you'll allow it. But we're getting a lot of that kind of vibe, which says to me we're on the right track here, guys, which I like. Always want to remind the viewers out there. I was texting. I sent you, Adam and Brandon, a screenshot earlier today. We just crossed 2,200 subscribers on YouTube. We have thousands and thousands of people, literally, which is so cool, doing the downloads of the audio, but the YouTube is really accelerating too, which we're real thankful for. So youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the likes, drop the comments. It all helps spread the Hawkra, and any which way you can get involved in the flock. I think we really do appreciate it. Folks, without further ado, we are now steamrolling. It's crazy to think about week 7. I mean, life goes fast. Life goes quick. The NFL seasons, they really, really fly by. They seem so. We're already in week 7. Before we get to this week's game versus I keep saying San Diego. I think I'll keep saying it anyway. The Superchargers. Let's revisit how Adam got to his 3-peat. So bear with me here for 1 second. All right. That should be up on the screen. Let me know when you boys can see it. Okay.
Right there.
Yeah, right there. The crown, the 3-peat heater. So Adam, you get honors here as well. One that you feel you flubbed or wanted to have, the one that you did nail. What do you want to say about your 3-peat victory here? What helped you get across the board?
Yeah, well, first first possession score prediction, that's done me very well for 2 weeks with plus odds. So that's been a big thing to kind of carry me over the finish line because, man, the no field goals under 26 yards, that one kicked me right in the nuts, exactly on the first possession.
Yeah,
that's a bunch
early.
of crap. that hurt, man. And not only that, but then they kicked a bunch of other short field goals, which again is fairly unusual for the NFL these days. I still like that bet. I feel like that shouldn't have been the way that has gone there. Geno being under 268, man, that was surprising. I couldn't believe how much the offensive line struggled with a terrible Cardinals pass rush. And then as far as the overtime
Well, that's a
Fail
scratch.
Mary there.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Those are-
You just pick something.
Yeah, and to remind folks, the Fail Mary is just $1 bet. The bet 1, bet 2, bet 3, all $10 for a total of 31. So we get to 31 in honor of Bam Bam, Cam Chancellor, of course. So the $10 bets mean a lot more. The Fail Mary, it's got to be plus 1,200 or greater odds. But through 6 weeks, we've had 2 Fail Marys hit, which I haven't hit one, but you guys have each individually hit one, which I think is kind of cool. Adam, I thought you were gonna when you were like, oh, I still like that bet. I was reminding me how you and Brandon on the Seahawkers podcast go through your picks the week later now, which I think is a brilliant and fun segment. And, a man of honor that you are. It's remarkably entertaining. When you guys first did that, I was like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? And then like you get through a couple of minutes and it's like, no, this is actually oddly entertaining to hear you go back and say what you would have done. I don't know why it works, but it somehow does. Wilson, what worked for you and what worked early for you? You got the star right next to that one. What do you want to say about your boy K9, dude?
I mean, I was surprised that it was only 15.5 for his long run. I mean, I guess we didn't know much about him, but I think he had a couple runs where he was well over 15.5. I do want to say, if I could do the Adam week later picks on one of these, it would have to be my second bet. When the money moves like that, you gotta at least ask questions, and I think I went a little bit too boldly into that one. If we remember, as you can see there, it's minus 105 for the over, but it had moved to minus 115 to the under.
Yep.
I should have maybe thought twice about that one.
Well, we certainly could talk about money moving as we get into this week as well, because there's been a lot. It's been a big shuffle from where the Chargers line opened to where it is right now. And before we do that, I hate the fact that, well, I don't like going. By the way, we all lost money last week. I mean, I didn't put the numbers in the bottom because I'm not going to show. I'm not going to put negative numbers there. We still got a champion. That's the way it crumbles sometimes. We all lost a little bit of money. That's okay. I hate that my only win is the Cardinals, Cardinals prop. What I love is the fact that Ertz is like the only dude who did anything. And I actually kind of thought that would be kind of the case. So I was happy to take that victory lap. Although I don't know if you guys remember, do you recall how many catches Ertz had at halftime? Any guesses?
Was it 2?
What do you got, Wilson?
Maybe 1. I don't remember him having any in the first half.
0.
Yeah.
0. And I was like, I'm getting skunked. I was out of it. Right. So, and it's a tough position because I don't want to see Ertz catch the ball in the second half in a close game. But then I'm like, all right, well, you're right. I'm like, you're at 4, just get the freaking 5th and make it not mean anything. And then I think he ended up with 6 receptions. He hits that one, but I hate hitting all those, and none of my Seattle bets. 24.5 points for Seattle, didn't get there either. And Disley had one reception, rumble for 12, and that was that. Didn't get any other chances. I don't think any other targets rest of the game. So it was more the Noah Fan show. All right, boys. So as we rotate over now to week 7, Adam is still going to have honors. So bet number 1 is a $10 bet. I won't bring it up out of the gate. We mentioned where the money's moving. Maybe it comes out organically. So I won't jump the shark here, but Adam, bet 1 is yours. What are you doing with your $10 American?
Last week was a fluke. I believe in this bet. I think it's a solid bet. I don't think the teams kick short field goals very often anymore. And especially with 2 teams that I think we'll be able to knock it in the red zone with some consistency against 2 defenses that have given up a lot of points this entire season. I am going again with no field goal shorter than 25.5.
Wow. They actually, no. Okay. Yeah. They made it better for you. 25.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So no field goal, 25.5. All right. What's the
minus 110?
110. Okay. All right. So last week we did the math. It was like you needed a field goal last week within the 8 to bust you, and we got that. So now we're down to the 7, I think, if we do the math correctly.
Yeah.
Right. So 8-yard line is over 25, or actually that would still be 25. So you need the 9-yard line or out, and you're happy. No chip shots. Yeah. Drive 1 last week. Mafe makes a great play on second down. Kyler throws a ball, not even randomly, just throws a ball into the dirt, which he did quite often on third down. And here comes the backup field goal kicker, Amendola, and that one he puts through. Okay. I like that you're going back to it, and we'll see what's what. I'll mosey on to mine before we get to Mr. Wilson there. So my first down bet this week, I love Tyler Lockett. Love him. Also, I'm conscious that I think he's injured. And in fact, I know he's injured. Now it's like, how injured is Tyler Lockett? It's a hamstring. He missed practice last week, a couple of practices last week. He was cleared to play. Cool. Was not as involved as previous weeks, and neither was DK for that matter. So maybe just the Cardinal scheme. We shall see. This week, Tyler did not practice yesterday, and I'm not sure what happened today. We're recording this on Thursday about 5:30 Eastern. So I'm not sure if he practiced today. I like Tyler to go under 63.5 receiving yards. Got to pay 115 to get it. Now there is a caveat here. If Lockett doesn't play, if he's a scratch, this kind of bet, just some more education for the folks out there. This kind of bet, if you make a bet like this and your guy doesn't play, the bet just gets refunded. That's how the books do it. So it's not, you don't win because you think about it the other way. You could also take the over, and if your guy doesn't play, you just get your money back. They refund your bet. If Lockett looks like he's not going to play or is not, I'll try to revise my bet, but Lockett under 63.5 minus 115. I think he's injured. And when Lockett's injured, he might still get his 3 or 4 or 5 receptions, but I think they're going to be curbed. I don't think he's going to be going 15, 20 yards downfield versus just like chain movers and still being valuable on third down. So that's my first one. Adam, before we kick it to the youngin here, anything you want to, contribute as we get out of the gate?
Yeah, I think that you're going to see a Chargers team kind of use that double bracket coverage on both the outside receivers. Again, it's a copycat league. And so they're going to do that and say, hey, we're going to make you beat us with the other guys. And I think they're totally capable of doing it. But with the injury and everything, I think the Seahawks also, too, will probably run the ball more in this game, considering the Chargers defense. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe Wilson has some other thoughts on that. I know he had a question earlier that we didn't quite get to.
Yes.
Or thought.
Yeah. First, I agree with Clinton. I'm surprised that's not lower considering the injury news. Maybe it'll change before the end of the week. But yeah, I'm also going with under on another receiving prop. So great minds think alike, I guess. Yeah. And the comment I just wanted to make earlier was I was surprised by this stat on the broadcast last week. And it relates to the field goal prop. And it's that the Seahawks are 31st in red zone touchdown percentage in the NFL, which is hard to believe because of the offense has been efficient, but we've been scoring a lot of long touchdowns, 30 yards plus. We get in the red zone, we're actually not very good. So the field goal bet, now it's at the 7-yard line. You move a yard closer, feel better about it maybe, but it makes me a little nervous just because of our red zone offense is actually kind of bad, and we don't have an aggressive coach either who's going to want to go for it in those situations. That being said, the bet is helped by the fact that we're playing the Chargers and they're never going to go for it on fourth down, or they're never not going to go for it on fourth down inside like the opponent's 40-yard line. So, and with a backup kicker too. Hopkins is out. Yeah.
Good. Well, Hopkins did his thing for us, right? He went 4 for 4, kicked the winner in overtime. As they say, he got that dog in him and sent the Broncos to 2-4. And then he had to, go get iced up for a week. And I think we're all okay with that. I think it's a good deal.
Oh, Hopkins, give me a break. That kicker was out there being the biggest drama queen I have seen in a while.
Wait a second.
I think it was the third one.
It's a real hamstring and it's real pain, Adam. You must recognize that.
Exactly. Yeah, like on the third one, he kicks it. No grimace on his face, nothing. Right. As he's watching the ball, the second it crosses the threshold of the field goal post there, just crumples to the ground. Oh, it was shot. What a drama queen. He milked that for all it was worth. Give me a break, man.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's how you construct a narrative right there. That's LeBron getting Gatorade for the calf cramps in the finals.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very, very Euro soccer of him, right? It was so football as it would be said over there. But
that's exactly what I texted Bronco Jared. I was like, that kicker out there is acting like a soccer player.
He truly was. He truly was. All right, so Well, Wilson, we didn't even get your bet yet. We got your philosophy and your comment, and they are both wonderful. Probably the same thing, but what is bet number one?
Yeah, my bet is under 68.5 yards for Metcalf. A couple reasons. He's only broken 64 twice this year, and that was against the Saints and the Lions. And I don't see that kind of output happening again. Mentioned the bracket coverage. I wouldn't be surprised to see that again this week. And I'm concerned about the offensive line. I'm not sure that Geno's going to have a ton of time in general. Now, we've been pretty good up until this point. You have a fluke against a bad team like the Cardinals, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous with Khalil Mack on the other team and I can't even name a player on the Cardinals defensive line, and they ran over us all day.
Well, JJ, JJ, you can say he's on the line,
Yeah,
so.
I guess. How old is he?
Once upon a time, yeah.
Khalil Mack's a little
good.
younger than him, a little faster. That's the kind of player that really makes me nervous in this game and makes me want to hedge a little bit on passing yardage in general.
I got one quick thing on the DK piece. The reason I fear the bet is because on paper, we talked about this just the other day, Adam. On paper, the Chargers are full of studs. Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James, and they are studs. And then you got J.C. Jackson. I didn't realize this. He got benched last game.
Yeah, he did.
Like mid-game, he got benched. So, all right, who are you putting on whom? That'll be interesting. And do they travel? I don't follow it that closely to know. But if it's DK and JC, and JC's been having a hard go of it, we could be looking at DK over the top and really getting fed if Lockett can't be the 1-1A thing. However, Gabe Jackson still dinged up, didn't play last week. We struggled. The interior was not good. The exterior wasn't great. Geno was under consistent, pretty quick pressure. And I think San Diego is going to bring a similar type of aggressiveness. So I do agree, Wilson, that's going to be difficult to get there for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, before I hit my second bets, any comments on the DK stuff?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the Chargers defense and trying to figure out what is it that they do well and what is it that they struggle at, the passing defense has definitely been a bigger positive for them throughout this season. And so, yeah, any bets that are betting the over on passing yardage or receptions or things of that nature, I'm not sure is the greatest for this week. I think there's another way to go with that because their run defense, not great, man. 23rd in the league. And you even saw the Denver Broncos, who are a terrible offense. So when they were on track at all in that game, it's when they were picking up 4 or 5 yards in the run game fairly consistently and didn't go away from it to take a hero ball shot downfield. So,
right.
I would say the passing stuff I would kind of stay away from. And I agree with you guys talking about the way that the pass rush kind of scares me a little bit this week.
Yeah. So I think that parlays nicely into, no pun intended, because it's not a parlay, but my second down bet is kind of banking on some of the things that we're not just hinting at, that we're discussing. Last year, I kind of discovered this bet, and, not that I'm some Magellan, but I was really into this idea that teams tend to start slow. Games tend to start slow. It's just not usually the second half is when things open up and, a race to the final, et cetera, et cetera. But the first half can be a little bit sluggish. So I like this bet this week. This is the first half under. So total under 24 points at -105. So even at 14-10, I'm pushing, and that's okay. You push and you basically lose your 10%. So 13, whatever it is under 24, that's a pretty good amount of points. And Vegas has the over under at 50.5 for the game. So they're also banking on a little bit extra in the second half, which is kind of the natural pattern. I could see this game starting a little sideways, taking some time to get on the rails for maybe both sides, but really all it takes is like one side to kind of start off kilter, and staying under 24 is not too tall an order. So that's my go for my bet number 2. Wilson, any feelings towards the first half under? Do you think the crunchiness will be there?
I think it might be, but we're correlating on our second bets here too, but I'm going in a different direction. So I'll get to that when it's my turn.
Well, good news. It's your turn.
Oh, amazing. I'm still not really following how it's all working here, but that's great news. So yeah, I decided to go with the first quarter over at over 10 points. Mostly because I'm getting paid at 105, but also the Seahawks, second most first quarter points of any team in the NFL this year. Chargers, not so good, 21st, but they have, hopefully for them, not for us, but seems like they might have Keenan Allen coming back this week. He's a big piece. I think 10 is not too much to ask, just considering how a lot of Seahawks games have started this year, which is contrary to how things have usually gone in the past. But yeah, I think in general, just a general theme for my bets this week too is I'm 1 for 8 in the last 2 weeks. I feel like I don't know much about how to bet on this team right now, so I'm just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. And this seemed like a good enough noodle to give a toss there.
Yes, so you got to wing it. And you know the nice part about both our bets, they're not exactly opposites attract.
Yeah.
But they could coexist. We could come out hot, see a 7-7 ball game at Q1 and see it at 13-10 heading into the half. Seahawks up, of course. And we're both ringing some money before I crack up. Well, at that point, what are we at? It'll be about 6:00 my time. Let's call it my second beer. I'd say I'm cracking my third beer. Let's be fair. All right, Adam, we got the back and forth, the over, the unders. Are you grooving the same way, or what do you got for bet number 2?
Yeah, well, my bet's a little bit different, but it does fall into the over under on point spread or on total points for the Seahawks in this game. The bet is Seahawks. They have to win, but you get 3.5, and they score over 24.5 points, and that's plus 290. So a big number.
Whoa, okay.
But I really think that you guys talked about the money moving on the overall point spread here early in this week, towards the Seahawks. And I thought I saw one of you guys text that it started out at like 8 points.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we were texting today, when the line first opened, depending on whether you're on FanDuel or DraftKings, usually there's like a half-point variance, or there can be. It was Chargers minus 8.5 to start. And now the last I looked on DraftKings, it was down to Chargers -5. So 3.5 points in a couple days, that's a huge movement in Vegas terms. So to recap, so it was 3.5. So we're getting 3.5, right? So win the game by 3.5. Okay. And then it was over 24.5 points. Is that right?
Over 24.5 points scored. So I like this for a couple different reasons. One, when I saw the number initially, and even at +5, I was like, what is going on with this line? I don't see these teams as a big mismatch. Like, if you really look at how they've performed this season, not by their reputation, but how they perform, not what they look like on paper, they are very similar teams. They both have struggled defensively. I mean, the Chargers have given up 24 or more points in 4 different games. So they have struggled keeping the ball out of the end zone. Secondly, they're really bad against the run. And I could see them really turning to Ken Walker and him having a big day and busting out even more than he did last week. And this Seahawks offense, they've been scoring, more than 24 points? Again, like 4 out of the 6 games this year, something like that. But Seahawks have been scoring more than that amount more often than not. The Chargers have been giving up more than that more often than not. I think these two teams are pretty much dead nuts even. So I would have thought the line would have been -3 for the Chargers, just for the typical home field advantage. But then you factor in their home field advantage. That could be other CenturyLink down there. Like, that could be other Lumen Field, like down there in LA. So I like the Seahawks in this spot. I think they're going to give the Chargers a run for their money. And I get points for teams that I think are pretty equally matched. You bet. I'm going for it. Plus 290. That's a big
I was gonna say,
number.
yeah, remind that's it. Plus 290. Like that's a lot. And again, for reminding folks, you bet $10, you win 29 for a total payout of $39 on a bet like that. That's quite a bit. I like the fact that you're taking advantage of what we think is a line that's still a little egregious. So that when you say, okay, hey, I'll only take 3.5, and then you're assuming that we score, 25 or more, and you gave your logic why, you're getting paid pretty darn handsomely. So nice aggressive second down bet. But Wilson, when you win 3 in a row, you get to throw the dough, my friend. He can throw it around any way he wants. Wilson, you start us off on third down. Typically our most aggressive bet. So I'd love to see what Adam's got cooked up for third down. But what do you got shaking, man?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not feeling super aggressive this week. Looking for stuff where I'm getting a good ratio of risk to payout, which is always a good strategy when it comes to betting, but something I'm looking for this week. So here's the deal. Our defense is not as good as they looked last week. I just don't buy it. I think the Cardinals are a dysfunctional team in so many ways. And the fact is they drove the ball and they went for it a lot on fourth down and it didn't work out. And sometimes it's how the cookie crumbles. They didn't play a game where they deserved 3 points of offensive output, is how I'll put it. And I don't think we're going to see any kind of performance like that against the Chargers. That being said, there are improvements. I don't think this is going to be a 48-45 type showing. So for that reason, I have the point bands. I'm taking this bet for the first time this year. Chargers between 21 and 30 at plus 135. I think that's a pretty reasonable spot to be in. I think the defense has at least shown the ability at times to make other teams kick. And I don't think the Chargers are going to be just pouring on the points either. So it seemed like a happy medium.
Yeah, nice, like kind of safe landing spot potentially for the Chargers. Adam, if the Chargers hit that band, the Seahawks win the game. I know it's a pretty big band, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think they have every opportunity to win this game in that band. I think both these teams are going to put up a fair amount of points. In fact, I almost went with the bet of total points 51.5 and taking the over because, again, the Seahawks have scored 24 more points 4 times out of their 6 games this year. The Chargers have also scored 24 or more points in 4 of their 6 games this year. The other 2 that they didn't were against the Broncos, who have one of the best defenses in the league. I think that's a universally accepted thing. And then the other one was a fluky game against the Jags where they just ended up scoring 10. Like the Jags have that one game a year against a pretty good team that you're like, wait, where did that come from? That happened to be that
game. Buffalo last year.
Yeah, people forget about that one. It's
a
crazy
exactly.
game.
Yeah, they just pop up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they put the beat down on a decent team. You're like, how?
Yeah,
that makes zero sense. So I kind of throw both those out. So I think I think their most points this season has been 30 points. So you start thinking about all that. I love where Wilson is in that band right there. I mean, that's right dead nuts in their average for the entire year. And I think it's entirely possible with a defense that I agree with Wilson. I think was more a beneficiary of bad offense rather than playing great defense.
Yep, I have a stronger stance, as you guys know, as we've talked about throughout the week, that I think the defense is a little better than that. And I still like the band. I think if it hits on the lower side, but that's okay. Who cares? A hit's a hit. I don't love the 51.5. I know you didn't go there and you still got to give your third down bet, but in general, I don't think this game, if I were to take one, I'd take the under. I'm not betting it. I think this game is going to be in the 20s for both teams, or one team in the high teens and one team in the low 20s. And I don't think it shoots higher than 45 is my guess. 46 is a total. I think both defenses are okay. And I think Seattle's markedly okay. I'll go that aggressive. All right. But Adam, your third down bet. What do you got, dude?
All right. Well, we talk about being aggressive this week. And again, maybe I'm just feeling myself a little bit too much this week or whatever it is. But I really think that, I know that the Seahawks run defense is poor, and it has been pretty much all year. They got lucky against Cardinals.
We're going to keep having this argument. That's okay. That's okay.
Look, the numbers don't lie on this. Like the Seahawks run defense is
trends. The trends. Hey, listen, I want to hear the bet. I think it's better than it was good last week. It was good, right? I mean, Benjamin or whomever. And against the Saints, it was good versus Kamara. It was crap against Taysom
it was good against the fourth string running back that they found on the street that's basically just half a degree better than your mom. So, congratulations on that week at playing defense. Seahawks run defense is not good. Austin Eckler is good.
He is good.
The Chargers run defense is poor. Bottom third of the league. You saw that Denver was able to move the ball on the ground. I think both backs are going to have a big day. So my bet is combined Eckler and Kenneth Walker 200 plus rushing / receiving yards, and 2+ TDs rushing and or receiving plus 400.
Ooh, I think this was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was like the special play of the week that like
Yeah.
DraftKings like served up. Yeah. So very enticing. I saw this one too. So let me just make sure I got it right. Eckler and K9, 200 yards, but it's if K9 goes for 201 and Eckler hurts his ankle in the locker room, that still hits, right? That's all that had to
That
happen.
still hits.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 2 touchdowns, no matter. I'll
However they're
continue that.
scored between the two of them.
K9
Yep.
scores 6, Austin scores 0. You hit that. Okay.
You hit that. And there's a few things I like about this. That I talked about both their run defenses, but the Seahawks have struggled for years covering backs on the swing pass and on screens and things like that. And the Chargers do a lot of that with Eckler, who's really hard to get on the ground. I think he's probably going to have a Kamara type game. I think it's pretty much inevitable. So, yeah, I feel really good about this for that fat plus 400. That's huge.
Yeah, that's a lot of Scuttle that you could be raking in there. All right. So actually it's my turn. Last week, by the way, I failed to give my third down bet. This week I had it and I put it in there and I didn't hit it. I didn't even do an Adam. I didn't come back on and say I would have chosen this. I just put it up on the board. This week I've got it right here. I still like the tight ends, and you guys probably noticed too, in DraftKings, there was very little to pick. This was another week where it was like most of the props were Seahawks props, a little bit of Herbert, but I was looking for a Gerald Everett prop. I wanted to go find like a volume reception prop. Nowhere to be found. Like, come on, give me something. I would have taken Everett over 4.5 receptions. I think he probably gets that. Wasn't there, but I did like this one. Noah Fant has had over, I forget the exact number, but he's over 40 yards the last 2 weeks in a row. He is, hate to be like, he's clearly the one because whatever, they still use 3 tight ends. Parkinson still got a catch last week. Uncle Will got a catch last week. And I don't know if it's going to be the Uncle Will week because I think there's a bit of variance there. It could be Uncle Will week. However, I bumped it up a little bit. So I'm getting paid 135 if Fant can go over 34.5 yards. So he's done it 2 weeks in a row. I think he's kind of becoming, Geno's Whoopi in some ways. He had 7 targets last week, 6 receptions. He did like 49 yards. It's not the easiest bet, but you're getting paid pretty well for it. And I think it's quite achievable. And the nice part about Fant is he's not always just like, a 6-yard out. He'll get maybe 1 or 2 of those, but he's also got mixed in like a 15-yard crosser where he gets the ball and can rumble for maybe 20 yards. So I like that. He goes 35 yards. I'm getting paid at 135. And I just like betting our tight ends because I think we still utilize them in meaningful ways. And frankly, it's been a decade. So I'm going to keep hammering the tight ends until we see otherwise. Wilson, what do you think about, you're actually going to be up we're going to go back to Adam for the Fail Mary, but Wilson, any takes on, let me ask you guys this. Gerald Everett, how much damage do you think he's going to do versus our Seahawks? Wilson, what do you think?
I think he's going to do what he did last year in that one game and fumble it 3 times, and we're going to return each one for a touchdown. So I think he's going to have a terrible week.
That's the best answer. All right, Adam, do you think GE is going to have any sort of a revenge game against us or more of a non-factor? What do you think?
Talk about a dude I'd never want to place $1 on ever because I've watched his entire career, and you could tell me he could have 15 receptions and set the tight end record for yards in a game. You could tell me that he would fumble 3 times and lose the game all by himself, and they are all in play any given week. He is so random with his production. So will he have a revenge game against the Seahawks this week? Maybe. No, will he not? Maybe. I don't know.
Got it. So wouldn't be what you choose to bet, even if you could choose to bet it. So you were going to be hands off on GE. It's funny. It's hilarious, right? It's like, we know each other for years now, and I'm sitting there clamoring for a GE bet. Like, oh man, give me all the GE. I want a volume take. I can't get it. And you're like, dude, you're a big dope. You have no idea what's going to happen with that one. And we both might be right, which is fun. All right. So Adam, we are on to the Fail Mary. You still have honors. Back at the tee box you go. $1 scratcher, must be 1,200 or longer odds. What is your Fail Mary this week?
Yeah. So did you guys have a hard time finding Phil Mary bets in terms of having the plus 1200 or above odds? Like, because I surely did.
Took me a minute.
It,
Took me a little bit. Yeah.
it was slim pickings. So about the only thing that I could find that I actually thought was possibly in play was Seahawks to win in a point band of 13 to 18 points, and it was plus 1600.
That's not bad.
I don't love it. It's a lot like my Phil Mary from last week. Like overtime, yeah, it might happen. I don't know. I just couldn't find anything that spoke to me really at all.
Well, well, Wilson, why don't you comment on that band? I mean, it's the dollar, it's the hunch. Adam's struggling to find one, but I mean, hey, possible, right? I mean, we could win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, definitely could. I mean,
Right.
considering how the Chargers offense played last week, you put a better offense and a better quarterback like Geno Smith on the other side in that game, and they take advantage of it. So don't hate it.
Good. All right, I'm gonna ride on over to my my Fail Mary, then we'll pass it back to you, Mr. Wilson. All right, I too, Adam, I was like, ooh, I don't see the one jumping out to me. And parlays are what they are. You get the longer odds, but they're hard to hit. But it is the Fail Mary. So I did a little compilation. So I went to the well with you guys, or at least Adam on this one. Kenneth Walker, over 85 yards rushing. Pretty big nugget, but hey, if you're going to have a day, go have a day. Fants, I went to the same number, over 34 and a half. My justification there was like, well, if I get paid once, why don't I maybe get paid twice? Just like let's see what happens there. So Fant over 34 and a half. Kenneth Walker, 9 yards receiving, over 9 yards receiving. So I was like, okay, that's polite. And then I have Lockett again, under 69 and a half yards receiving. So K9 over 85 rushing, over 9 receiving. Fant over 34 and a half receiving, and then Lockett to be under 70 yards. A little compilation. I know it's like kind of tough to judge with so many moving parts, but I think they're all believable. It's at plus 1200 right on the nose. And I think they're all possible. Still, obviously, Vegas says pretty darn hard. Good luck, but I'll take my chances with it. All right, Mr. Wilson, over to you for your Fail Mary. What do you think, dude?
Let me just say, I think yours is pretty good, but I think that receiving one might drive you nuts, man.
That's are we talking the receiving one in terms of Fant or Lockett?
I'm talking about Walker.
Oh, the
9 yards.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is catch one swing pass and you're there. I think that's pretty possible. I think the part that I like about it the most is both of your Fant bets, because you think about the way that the Cardinals tried to take away the wide receivers, and Geno was like, sure, fine. I'll go to Marquise. I'll go to the tight ends. Like, I'll use the other dudes because they're awesome and we can use them. And then also, too, I watched the Chargers last week with Russ. They bracketed the receivers. And how often was there a wide open tight end that Russ just turned down? You could see a lot of the same. And Geno doesn't want to play hero ball and will actually hit somebody over the middle. So I kind of like it.
All right. Well, I'm feeling a little bit better about that dollar spent. All right, Mr. Wilson, where do you want to spend your hard-earned dollar?
Well, I'm going for another parlay. And I'm part of the first leg is I'm agreeing with you on the Fant receiving, over 40 the last couple weeks, and with maybe receivers being in jail a little bit there. I like that. Also going under 279 and a half on Geno passing. That one feels really safe to me. I just don't think this is just going to be a huge game for him. Got over 94 and a half on the Ken Walker rushing yards. A little bit higher than where you went. That one makes me a little nervous, but like Adam was mentioning earlier, the Chargers can't defend the run very well. I really like Walker. That's just one of those ones where he could get 80 and have a good game, but I want him to get 95, and I really want to root for that one. That's just the kind of bet that makes the game fun. And then last is maybe my favorite leg of this that really drove it up to Fail Mary, like well into Fail Mary territory, was Geno over 25 rushing yards.
Ooh.
Which, it's hit or miss, but in a game with a lot of pressure coming in his face, in my guess, I think we could see some scrambling. He had 48 yards last week, which I just did not pick up on at all. And he had 49 a couple weeks ago against the Lions, so it could happen. And all in all together, that is a plus 2,200 bet. So well into Fail Mary territory, but there's not a single part of this bet where I feel like it's just very unlikely to happen. So or not like terribly likely to happen. So I feel pretty good about it overall. It took me a long time to cook up this parlay, like you guys were mentioning. Hard to find enticing Fail Mary stuff this week.
Yeah, I like I like the mad scientist in you, cooking those things up. It's the Kenneth Walker part at 94.5, like, it's the largest piece there, probably the hardest, but still, oh, and he's saying, no, it's not. It's not. Adam, are you expecting the young man to go off for, and I'm not talking about Wilson this time, but Walker to go to triple digits? Is that the expectation?
So everything about betting is playing the what's more likely game, right?
Sure.
Like, I mean, that's basically what you're doing. And is it more likely that Kenneth Walker is going to have a big day against a bad rushing defense? Or is it, because to me, the harder part is the Geno scrambling part. Or is it, more likely that Geno's going to have a big day on the ground as well? Like, I just think that's the part that is so random and it's so impossible to predict, because all it takes is, one possession where they're bringing pressure from the outside and, the guards do a great job of kind of wrapping everybody around Geno and they play man on that particular play. And then Geno can sprint and pick up those yards. But the flip side of it is that could never happen all game, and it happens that way more times than not. So to me, it's far more likely that Walker will get his part done and a little less likely that Geno will get his part done.
Yeah, and I think Vegas agreed, as Wilson laid it out, that it really drove the Fail Mary to atmospheric, stratospheric, thunder and lightning territory, which is kind of fun. And speaking of the lightning and lightning bolts and all that, this is going to be a good one, fellas. I think this is going to be the end of last week. In fact, looking at the Saints game, after the Saints game, I looked ahead at our schedule. I'm like, all right. I was like, I think we beat the Cardinals. I'm like, I'm not overly impressed with the Chargers yet. And then I was like, the Giants, and then they win and go.
Frauds.
I think they're paper tigers in the sense that they beat a Packers team that's clearly struggling. And then they should have lost to the Ravens. Like they got lucky. If a quarterback, in that case Lamar, takes a little bit of care of the ball, they walk out of that stadium as losers. But they didn't. To their credit, they're 5-1. But even a couple of weeks ago, I was like, we could win this game. The money steamrolling from 8.5 to 5 on Seattle either means Vegas is in line to make a lot of money. That's one possibility, is that, hey, they said it and people took the bait and ran with it. Or the wisdom of the crowds kind of has this one pegged, and Seattle's a better team. Not saying better than San Diego, or LA, but that Seattle is better than people had expected. And I think that's sincerely where I'm at, is better than expected coming into week 7. Been a kind of a delightful start and a fun start. The big thing I'd say though, dudes, is I think where we most separate is I do not see a high scoring game here. I don't see it. Not with the amount of pressure I think the Chargers will be able to produce. San Diego's such a better city, by the way. LA, yes. San Diego, lovely.
Agreed.
Lovely. Yeah, you live out there.
Oh, right? What are you talking about? Go to LA. Everything's better in LA.
Yeah, everything's better in LA except for nothing. LA is just not. And I've taken heat.
Have you not had tacos in LA?
Yeah. Yeah, they're better in San Diego. Exactly. But that's where I think we have the biggest divergence. You guys still feel that this is going to be a bit of a a bonanza, and I think it's going to look more like the Cardinals game. So before we kick it to Adam for the last word there, Wilson, are you? It sounds to me like you're more inclined that this will be a bit of a shootout. You feeling that way? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, at least for the Chargers, I'm just not convinced on our defense, and Geno's shown the ability to keep up. So I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think the over is going to hit. I stayed away from it this week, but I see like a 24-21, 24-23 type of game. somewhere in that range.
Well, that would hit for us on multitudes of levels, right? Especially that nice band you called earlier. All right, Adam, last word for you, dude. And please, when you do your thing, please remind folks how they could contribute and be part of this wonderfulness that we call the flock, because you do it like no other. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely, man. So a couple things about this game that I think are going to be very interesting to me. Well, just number one, overall, from a 10,000 foot view, if they can go into LA, beat the Chargers, then then that's going to be one of those victories that I look at, especially coming after a weird divisional game. Then I'm like, okay, like I'm really in for this year. Like this team can actually make the playoffs and maybe even make some noise. This is a very much a litmus test game for me, because I think the Chargers are one of those decent teams in the league. Like they could make the playoffs and win a game or two. They could also miss it because of the Chargers, but I do think that they're a decent team and it's a good measuring stick. So that's one thing. Secondly, I want to see if this defensive improvement is for real. If it is, absolutely, I'm all in. Like I love it. I want to see it. I want to eat all my words about it. I'm really hoping for it. I really want to see if this offensive line can have a rebound game after just being in Strugglesville last week for seemingly no reason. I mean, they didn't put any of that on tape in the first 5 weeks. So a lot of interesting things to watch here. And then also, I think the Kenneth Walker show is going to be just electric week in and week out. He just has juice. And with him getting as many carries as he's going to get, because I thought he'd split a lot with DJ Dallas last week. Didn't happen. They gave the young man the rock, and I'm looking forward to it. So a lot of cool stuff there. Just like a lot of the cool things that we bring to you on this channel, whether it's the flagship program, which we didn't do this week, but hey, Brandon sometimes can have a vacation and, celebrate his brother's wedding, that sort of thing. It was a once in a lifetime thing. So everybody chill out. So whether it's the flagship show, this betting show, the PNW Prop Stars, which has really taken off and has been a ton of fun. What If with Phil. I thought we had maybe one of the best discussions all year on that show this year in a really great debate that comes out tomorrow. And we've got, what am I missing? Oh, 3 in 3 out, Clinton. How am I missing 3 in 3 out?
Yeah.
He goes Han Solo for you guys this week. He goes solo, full cow herd, does 50 minutes all on his own because he's got that much talent that oozes out of his pores every morning when he wakes up. And for all of this content, you know what we ask in return? What do we ask in return for, Clinton? Is it much?
No, it's not much. It's not much.
It's not much. It's not much. We ask that maybe don't be a freeloader if you got a couple bucks in your pocket. Be a little flocker. Get in the flock, man. There's a lot of ways to do it at seahawkerspodcast.com. And we also give out goodies if you get in the flock, whether it's a patch or whether it's prizes in the Pick'em League, all sorts of cool stuff. So be sure to do that. If you like what we do here on YouTube, man, there's a million ways to get back to us. But one of the ways is hit that thanks button, buds. Like it's the best way to make money on YouTube, it seems like, and we appreciate it more than you know. And lastly, if you're just dead ass broke and a college student like Wilson here, guess what? You can still help out the show. Hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, shout it from the rooftops. Basically, what was that movie back in the day, Clinton, with John Cusack, and he had the boom box?
Say anything. Say anything.
Say anything. Go say anything with the podcast player in front of your buddy's window. Let him know just how great the show is. Do any of that, and you support us in a way that we can't thank you enough for. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. And this week is going to be exciting.
Yeah, it is. So Adam, great job saying everything. We appreciate that, dude. You really hit it out of the park there. So let's just go down to LA, have some fun, beat these freaking superchargers, and get to 4 and 3. And then what I like is the league is taking notice. I don't know if you see it all of a sudden, right? The NFL.com shows the NFL game day, Baldy breakdowns. It's all about this. Oh, Carroll won this, Schneider won that. They fleeced them. Carroll for coach of the year. Gino's real. Tariq Woolen for defensive player of the year. There is this momentum that sometimes just sits up in the Pacific Northwest and doesn't kind of carry over for a while. This year feels different already. This is the kind of tipping point game. If we could win this game, I think it's full steam ahead that people hated Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, antiquated, Pete Carroll, this, that. And the best story ever written is when the script flips and that person becomes the hero, and people be like, oh, that person who was stalwart the entire freaking time, that person was right in the face of everything, in the face of all that heat. His approach or her approach was right. That was the one. That's Pete Carroll right now. We go to 4-3, and the whole freaking league is going to revolve around how right he was as a coach, and we're going to get to celebrate that. I'm fired up for that, Buzz.
Yeah, I'm loving being the underdog here. We're the underdog again. Let's get it done.
Yes, sir. All right,
Heck
boys.
yeah. Pete's
Yes.
done a hell of a job. And for the record, Clinton, in the storm when everybody was fire Pete, not this guy.
Yeah.
I was.
I said it.
Oh, me neither. I was never team fire Pete. Never.
I was pro team Pete the whole way, but it is fun to see the narrative come all the way back around. And like you said, Clinton, they get this victory down in LI, then they will be 4-3. We have a chance to win this division. I'm not sure the Niners are ever going to get healthy this year, and the other teams stink. It's all setting up perfectly for us. This is an amazing Cinderella season. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying having you guys along for the ride as well. It's been awesome. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Come on down.